Hey y'all, I'm in the garden today and I realized that I had completely skipped the garden tour for June, so I thought I would take a moment in this hot weather to give you guys a full update on all the plants in the cottage or potager garden that we're trying to build here. So let me show you what we've got going on. Alright, so I'm going to start here where the potatoes were. Those are no longer here. And now I have a Confederate rose hibiscus that I have put here. This is going to get very, very tall. The Confederate rose hibiscus, I'll show you one of the older ones that I have, but they get a really big pink flower. Over here I have salvia, which could probably do with a good trimming. This has been a weird year for it and never has gotten any flowers on it. Looking kind of wiry, so I'll probably cut this one back pretty soon. This Angelonia that I have up here, I realize half the soil is missing. So that explains why this isn't doing all that well. This needs to be repotted or put in the ground, so I'll be doing that soon. Hang that back up. This is a sweet potato vine that I have going. Part of it goes out over here, not concerned. And I have part of it winding up the pergola. I need to wind this up through there. I'm just going to let that go as long as it wants. I'm just going to let this sweet potato vine go as long as it wants. Now, because of the drought we're experiencing, this slab, which already had a crack in it, is heaving. If you can see, that's 2 fingers higher, over 2 fingers higher than the other side. So, don't know what we're going to do about that. There's my oxalis, which who knows if it's the drought or the chickens taking that out, and the Mexican heather's doing good. Got 2 avocado here, still hanging on somehow. I have all of these succulents in this pot that are doing pretty well, looking pretty under this table. The fern still going. We're keeping it pretty well watered, and it's semi-shaded. The Confederate rose hibiscus is doing really well. It's over 12 feet tall. All of this grass that's normally standing proud at the bottom, it just can't keep up with this drought, so we're gonna have to cut all that back. Maybe it'll come back next year. These little flowers here, whose name I never can remember, they're hanging on. The hydrangea that I had transplanted, looking pretty sad. This is the first year after a transplant, and it happens to be a drought, so I'm not giving up on this yet. Just need to water it some more. Here are the Chinese fringe flowers I recently planted and got mulched and got some rocks put in here so that the chickens don't dig them up. Come around where the sun's not behind me. So that's going to be another Confederate rose hibiscus that'll be very tall here in the middle with the big pink flowers. And then I have the Chinese fringe flowers, the variegated kind. This is sort of the center of my backyard, so I'll have, when the cottage garden is complete, we'll have trail pathways and not a whole lot of grass. so that's doing well. The elephant ears are looking pretty sad. This Confederate rose hibiscus is looking droopy, but it's 100 degrees out here right now. It's still doing fine. Just need to get all these watered. You can see that the sun is just burning. It's just burning everything. I have to cut all that out because it just can't survive this heat. The lemongrass still doing okay. As long as you keep some water in it, it'll be all right. The pumpkin seeds I planted in the pool, they're hanging on. I just watered this last night and it's bone dry. These got toasted today, so I'll water them again tonight. Sometimes I'll water them in the morning. The blue potato bush, it likes the sun, so it's not hurting this. This one was one that I had transplanted, so I don't really expect it to do much this year. This is some bush beans that I planted. They don't mind the sun. The okra loves the sun. It's well over 8 foot tall and just keeps going. I keep expecting it to eventually stop or get broken, but it hasn't yet. Do have some okra that needs to be picked. It was too hot for the tomatoes this year since we never got a spring. I don't know what I'm going to do with these guys yet. Haven't decided. Might just pull them up and try again for the fall. The squash, the vine borers got those, so this whole bed's about to be moved somewhere else because of the work we're fixing to start on this side of the house. So I want to go ahead and get this moved to a better location. This is the cucumbers. Got a lot of cucumbers this year. Enough to make pickles and relish for Tommy and I for the year. Still have a few on here. I'm going to go ahead and let these finish. There's one there. And once those are finished, this is all coming out. I'm going to move on to a new crop. Some fall crops. So cucumbers are going by soon. You can see the sun. Sun's just baking everything. This is a sweet potato, and it's still doing well, despite the fact that there's ants in there. Man, the ants are just driving me nuts this year. This is also a sweet potato vine, different kind. This is a sweet potato vine. The chickens keep getting in here and taking their dirt baths, but the sweet potatoes are hanging on. This is milkweed for the butterflies. It's still doing fine. Just leave this here. This is a Perfume Breeze climbing rose that my daughter got for me. I need to come around and trim all this up. This one I transplanted last year too. So at least none of the things I transplanted died. That's all I've got to say about that. Eventually, this Perfume Breeze Eventually this perfume breeze will climb over the top of the arch here. So there's another okra. You can see them from different angles. Over here is the rose I got for Mother's Day from Tommy. I never can remember what it's called. America Climbing Rose. And of course this is its first year, so I'm not really expecting much out of this. See my chickens? They just dig in everything. What are you doing in there? Are there bugs in there? Yeah? Still haven't done anything with the entrance here to the backyard where I'm going to be putting a bunch of flagstone because it's been too hot for me to even care. The cannas are struggling in this heat and sun. And of course you have the leaf rollers you deal with every year, but between the leaf rollers and the sun and drought, they just don't look all that great this year. Tommy's orange tree's hanging in there. It doesn't mind the heat. Does need to be watered. Tommy's banana tree, it's a dwarf banana. It's still surviving. Heat hasn't killed it. The trumpet vine over here on my fence that attracts all the hummingbirds is doing great. I know someone's going to say that's an invasive, but keep in mind, what's an invasive in your area is not necessarily an invasive or illegal in my area. All of my crepe myrtles are surviving, but they've got something on them. Not sure what it is. It's a white film all over everything. But yet last year we dealt with bark scale and the black sooty mold, and I cut all of these crepe myrtles back to try to take care of that. And I have some signs of some here. I have some here. You can see the bark scale here and all the ants. Ugh. It's not as bad as it was last year. You can see the pretty bark, the pretty trunk on these crepe myrtles. This is Wellll. They get a pink flower. They don't mind this heat. This new gardenia is struggling, but it is hanging on. The older gardenias are still doing well. See, something's been eating on it, but it's still surviving. This was the one last year that had the bark scale so bad. And I do see some. I'll treat it again this year. There's some more right here. I'll treat it the same way this year, and eventually maybe we'll get rid of this nasty stuff. There's some more. Here are some more cannas. Again, looking poorly. Here's a lantana that I really just need to get into the ground so it can reach its full potential. And this is the little herb garden that we had built. What was this? Chives never did anything. Italian oregano is barely hanging on. The dill never came up. You can see little bitty sprigs. The lemon thyme got attacked by ants almost immediately. Cilantro was also attacked by ants. Pineapple sage is still hanging in there. I'll go ahead and harvest some of this and dry it. The red bell pepper is barely hanging on. I'm sorry about the neighbor's dog, it's obnoxious. This mint is barely hanging on. And this mint is doing better. I'm going to cut some of this off and dry it for some tea. These pumpkins are barely hanging on. And then we have the shrimp plant, which continues to do well. And the hydrangea that's in full sun, which for the first time since it's been here is now getting burned leaves. This has not happened since I planted it, since my daughter planted it here. So it's still getting moved in the fall. Anyway, we're just going to keep as much alive as possible and hope we have a better fall. Well, thank you guys for joining me on my garden tour today. I hope to get a lot more done in the next couple of months. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.